right. Hi, how's it going? My name is Kevin,
I'm AC.
and we're just having a sit-down conversation today. So just to get to know a little bit about each other, and so you guys know a little bit about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, my name is Kevin. I'm a physical therapist. I have my own practice here in Princeton called Restorative Physical Therapy and Performance.
I'm Coach AC. I have my own practice as Fit Nutrition. It's Amy Fit Nutrition, but I go by AC. I have been in the health and fitness industry since 2006, so a long time. I guess what feels like a long time, but only recently been coaching at Orange Theory. Been coaching in person since 2021. Otherwise, it's all been online.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of the way that I started was podcasts. I had a Healthy Me, Healthy We podcast in the past. But I love this collaborative effort that we've got going on here. And only recently have we kind of started doing this.
Yeah.
So Kevin came into Orange Theory one day and was like, hey, can we see if Orange Theory and Restorative PTP work together? And I was like, hell yeah. And then I was like, well, why don't we just do this on the side as more of a collaborative effort to get our names out there and share more things than what we could do, I think, through Orange Theory alone.
Right.
And in person alone, we can reach a broader audience, maybe serve more people.
Sure.
That's what I thought we could do.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah, and absolutely. And, with our, fields, like, I'm a physical therapist. I work more on like the rehab side of things. So AC is well-versed in nutrition. And so that's kind of where we thought of like, a potential collaboration of just all things like health, fitness, and wellness. Because at the end of the day, what's our main goal? Our main goal is to like help other people, live like healthier lives, get back to doing the things that they love,
right?
Or maybe even become like the best version of themselves.
And that's what I love too, is to be at your best. And you've talked about working with pain and through that pain, and then becoming pain-free, and how that maybe non-linear journey of progress looks. And then you're right, like with nutrition and personal fitness and recovery, and what all of those pieces together look like to be your best self, whether that's at 60% when you've got 60% to give, or if that's at 100% when you've gone through rehab, you've gone through recovery, what that looks like. And every person's journey is different. So I think that's what we wanted to do, is like an all-encompassing platform here where we can offer the greatest value to the clients that we both serve, and kind of the overarching community that we service together.
Sure.
And as Kevin being a male and I'm a female, how that looks different for our clientele, and how we can kind of put our own experiences and perspectives in play to, to serve the general population of people who are interested in this kind of work that we do.
Right. That's like the biggest thing, right? Just like being able to like help out the community, and it's much better doing it together rather than like everyone just trying to like do their own different thing, especially since like how closely our fields tie together with one another.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of where we're at. So I guess just because this is the first time, why don't we just like talk a little bit more? Like, let me like, ask you a few questions, introduce yourself a bit.
21 questions.
Like the 21 question game, right? Yes, I know you gave a little bit about your backstory, but I guess I'm curious to hear like what is it that initially like got you into like the fitness? I guess like, was it like a hobby growing up, and then eventually is that what made it to your career, or like what was like the progression?
That's a good question, because it actually kind of flipped on its head in 2018, but I'll give you a little bit of a background. So I played football growing up. I was into the typical sports, softball. I played competition softball, but I was terrified of the pitcher, actually. I was terrified of a fastball coming at me. I was much better with a bigger rubber ball. So like tackle football was my thing when I was a teenager.
Nice.
I moved on to swimming and eventually moved on to triathlons. I hated running, but I served as a church missionary in Germany and learned to love running from my companions. It was a great stress reducer. We rode bikes everywhere. So I really learned to kind of dial in on the running and the biking, and then had a friend who said, do you want to do a triathlon with me? And I did a triathlon, and I almost threw up after the first triathlon. It was like almost. I was so close, but I was hooked after that. So cool. Triathlons kind of became my thing. And the more I did them, the more I was like, oh man, I gotta train for this. I have to eat better. I had my first child in 2006. So then I was like, oh, how can I bounce back from pregnancy? How can I bounce back from all these things? And I think I became a healthier version of myself after I had kids rather than before I had kids. But in 2018, so before 2018, I certified as just a fitness instructor. I taught boot camp classes when I was first married. I'm no longer married. And so going through that really helped me to dial in on what health really meant too when I was in a high stress, high pressure, like needing to take care of me. Otherwise, everything else was falling apart. And before that, so I got divorced in 2022. But in 2018, I started the keto diet, which was detrimental to my health because of the way that I was training. So I ended up needing heart surgery. And in 2018, needing that heart surgery, it set me back almost to square one, where I developed this, what's called pericarditis. So I had this inflammation around my heart, which is a lot like a sprained ankle, where you have to stay off of it, you have to ice it, all these things encompassing my heart, and you can't not use your heart. Right. So how do you recover from something like that while still maintaining a healthy, lean muscle mass, while still taking care of, I had 4 kids at the time. I still have 4 kids, but 4 younger kids. At the time, my spouse had a high pressure position. We had just moved into a new house, and my kids just started new school. So like, how do I maintain all of the systems that are in place or build systems, habits around those needs and still take care of myself and recover properly? So that's where I really dialed in on what is a healthy level of fitness, right? What does health really mean to me? What kind of nutrition do I need? What are my goals? So that's when I really dialed in on my 5, what I called the SOS factors, because our body is usually sending us a message for help. And how do we respond to those messages? And so my business outside of Orange Theory is called Healthy Me, Healthy We, because if we can take care of ourselves, better care of ourselves, then we are in a better position to take care of others. And as women, whether we're working full-time in a position of service to people, whether we're a mother or a spouse or just single, how do we take better care of ourselves to leave a better imprint, a better impact on our community, on our society, in our professional careers, on our family, right? Because every woman is a daughter, can be they're a friend, they can be a mother, they can be a sister, they can be an aunt, whatever. They're putting themselves in a position to serve people better because they take better care of themselves. So that's a little bit of my background.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and this is all things that I'm actually learning for the first time. So I appreciate you being.
That's so funny. It feels like we've known each other for a little bit, but like strangers as far as like the background of why we do what we do.
Right. Yeah, and so there was a lot there. So I kind of just want to they shift through that a little bit, right? So I mean, it sounds like you grew up like fitness was the thing. Like this is what you love to do.
Active.
You love being active. Like. You were doing triathlons, like doing all these different things that you're used to with your body. And then just with the, like, just lifestyle changes with like children, high stress, like medical issues and everything too. Like
Yeah.
that's what really um put like set you back, but you didn't let that like define you. And what was it?
For a long time, I think it
Mhm.
did, but
Mm.
you have to get to a point
Yeah.
where instead of letting it keep you back,
Sure.
you're like, okay, how do I either live with this, which
Yeah.
is what you help people focus on, either
Mm.
how do I live with this or how do I move past this?
That's it. Yeah.
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 And I think a lot of women live with a lot of things like
Yeah.
that. From my perspective, I
Sure.
can talk from a woman's perspective or a family perspective.
Yeah.
How do you move forward in spite of limitations or in
Right.
spite of setbacks and things like that? So
Right.
the quote that you often hear
Mhm.
is a setback is often a setup, right? For the next big thing or
Mhm.
a positive, a pivot, something to help
Sure.
you move forward
Sure.
rather than set you back. And I guess I'm really thankful that my body could be resilient.
Yeah.
Mentally, I could
Right.
be resilient,
Yeah.
move forward
Yeah.
through those things. And I do take pride in knowing that I set up systems of success for
Sure.
myself and my family to be able to function in spite of
Sure.
the challenges we went through.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. There's a lot of gems there, and yeah, I would agree too. Like just working with people in pain or chronic pain or like neurological conditions, it is a lot for someone to like accept. Like okay, like this is accept that this is where I'm at, or like things can continue to get better,
Right.
or it's like that shift in like their identity, So I think that
Yeah.
that's like a big thing that like everyone goes through, like with any sort of like injury or any sort of illness or any sort of like life changes or factors and everything like that. And so like you were saying, like it was something that what helped you to, I guess, like overcome that period.
Well, I already had I had my nutrition coaching down. I
Yeah.
had my personal training
Yeah.
in the wings.
Sure.
I had my kids to take care of.
Yeah.
I had a necessary, like nothing is as motivating as absolute necessity,
Mhm.
right? Like we
Yeah.
want to do a lot of things, but it's not until it's like come hellfire and damnation.
Mhm.
If I don't get this done, my life is permanently limited.
Mhm.
And I could either sulk
Mhm.
and become bitter
Mhm.
about where I was
Mhm.
and live with the pain that I had,
Mhm.
or I could see if I knew enough, just
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
to one step at a time move
Yeah.
forward. So it was, what do I need to do today?
Sure.
What can I do? So I had
Right.
to like stay on the couch,
Yeah.
and I had to ask for help. I had family that lived nearby, so
Mhm.
that was a godsend.
Mhm.
And I had a supportive spouse, but I, of necessity, needed to pick up my kids. So what could I do to make things as simple
Mhm.
and as automatic as possible? And actually, that became my strength.
Yeah.
Was I'm not good at simplifying things, or I wasn't.
Mhm.
But there are some parts of my life that I'm really good at being like,
Mhm.
okay, what's the next thing that I
Mhm.
need to do? Just one thing at a time.
Right.
And when you do one thing at a time, then you're like, oh,
Uh-huh.
you did it.
Right.
All right, what's the next thing that I can do?
Yeah.
Oh, that worked. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing the things that are simple, and then I'm going to stack things on top of
Yeah.
it. So I have a degree in psychology, so I guess it was
Yeah.
more of a mental game than anything
Absolutely.
else,
Yeah.
and it becomes a physical performance after
Sure,
that.
sure.
So we'll build on that.
Yeah, I'm sure like from like your education, like that definitely like helped you out during
Yeah.
that time, right? And like so what you were saying is like, it was like your back was against a wall and then you had that decision to make. Either like you said, like sulk,
Yeah.
or like,
Yeah.
like woe is me.
Right.
Or like, or you could like stand up and try to like take action.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy, like from what you're saying, and it's like the only thing you can do really is just taking one day at a time, right?
Yeah,
Just taking
exactly.
one step at a time, like stop thinking about like, if you're thinking of something like 5 or 10 years from now, it might be a little bit too like grandiose. Like that's impossible.
Overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
like, how would you ever get there? You'll doubt yourself. And so you won't even take the action. But if you're just focused on the here and now, like what's something that you can do to like be healthier? What can I do that's be better for like not
Right.
just myself,
Just
but
that
also
one thing.
everyone else? Yeah, just one thing, right? Like whether it's like let me go to bed earlier, whether it's like drinking
Right.
some water or choosing a healthier meal or moving
Hmm.
my body a little bit more. You know, I think those are some of the things that I think about like what are some ways like we can all be healthy and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Okay. So, perfect transition then. So, what got you into what you're doing? Like, you obviously have thought about this for yourself too.
Mhm.
So, like taking those one. There's a great book, if you've read it, by James Clear, called Atomic Habits.
Oh, I read that. Yeah, I read that
It's
book.
so good.
That's one of my favorites.
It's one of my favorites too,
Yeah.
because he talks about like the 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Like if you could do it in 60 seconds or less, what's
Right.
that one thing that you would do?
Sure.
So you've told me a little bit about how you've gotten into and created your practice, but I'd
Yeah.
love for you to dive in deeper. Like, what was the one thing that kind of got you
Yeah.
involved in not just physical fitness, because it seems like you've been involved in that before, but give us a background. And then what was that one thing that kind of was the trigger, the tipping point to getting you to starting your own practice, getting into like a full-fledged
Sure.
health and wellness physical space?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess starting in like high school and everything like that, like growing up, I was always like pretty scrawny. So I think I was like 120 pounds or something.
I know that feeling.
I actually have like a photo, so maybe I'll put it up.
Oh
or
man, we
something.
totally should.
But yeah, I was like 120 pounds, like soaking wet, and then and so
that's a good description. I love it.
So then, like in my like senior year in high school, like then that's when I like started going to the gym. I think I got like involved in like watched a lot of like YouTubers, fitness YouTubers, and back then like it wasn't as much knowledge as like now. Now it's like everything's like pretty like available, but back then it was like it's like more like bro science. Like, oh, this guy said this is the best, so this is the best. This guy said this is the best, is the best. So I was going to the gym.
Most
And
bodybuilders who
then,
tell you
big
that everything is the
bodybuilders.
best.
Yeah, and then they're all just taking like steroids or something. Like
Yeah,
that.
they never tell you what the real secret is.
Yeah, but then I started going to the gym, and then like then I really got involved and interested in like learning like why am I doing this? Like, what does it do? Like, what does this exercise or movement do? And like, what is it? Like, how do I make it better? And so from that point on, that's when I got really interested in like just like exercising, kinesiology, like biomechanics, anatomy, all that kind of stuff, just because like that was where my interest lied, and it was further reinforced when I started seeing like progress. I started seeing myself like, seeing my body grow and change, and it became something that was like an insecurity of mine to something that I was more like, comfortable with and like proud of, even to say.
Interesting.
And so that was like one thing that really got me into like fitness, health, like exercising. And then I had another incident that did occur while I was in college. And what happened was that, I was bench pressing, I was doing my regular training. I think I was starting a new routine. And pretty much what happened was I felt like a little like crack in my elbow. And then it was like painful. I couldn't do a lot of the same pushing exercises and movements that I was used to. And so I immediately went to a doctor and I got an MRI and everything like that. They said like nothing was wrong from what they could see. So then they just sent me to a PT, and I went to a PT, and then it's like, all right, do these like basic exercises. And then it wasn't really improving. And it kind of came to a point where they just told me like, why do you have to lift this weight? Like, why are you doing this? You don't have to do this. Like I guess they maybe felt like or thought that it was like for vanity sake or something like that, and they were trying to like get me out of it.
They're just jealous of your muscles.
Maybe they're just jealous or something. I don't know. They were like setting me up to fail, but like being like like a like for me, like I listened to them because it's like the health medical professional, and so I stopped. I just tried doing other things, but nothing was as like satisfying or fulfilling to me as just like exercising, and so like it did affect my mental, and it took some time until I was finally like, I'm tired of it, let me just figure it out, and so I slowly trained my body, slowly trained the different muscle groups that were involved, and now I can bench press pain free. And so that was kind of one thing that became my why of like getting into the field of PT, and also my outlook of like, when dealing with and treating with different patients, right? Because there's always things that we want to be able to do, and or things that we want to get back to because it's like either part of our identity or it's just something that we just love to do, whether it's like a cultural thing or maybe just like I said, like a identity thing or historical thing. And so it's like, how can we maintain that? How can we maximize our ability to be able to do these sort of activities for as long as we can, or how can we modify it even if it's come to a point that we can't?
I love that, like
You
the
know,
longevity
of
factor.
it.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Right. And another thing I'll say too is like just being a PT, I see people who like, like something happens, let's say like they hurt their back, doctor tells them don't lift ever again or something like that. Then they just become sedentary, and then they become, depressed, or they like gain weight. And we talked about before, like all these different like negative health outcomes start coming up as well. And that starts having a negative impact, not just on the person themselves, but also around like the people around them too. Right. And so, that's something that I'm pretty strongly like, for let's not just say or accept that this is where you're at, this is what it is, this is what you have to live the rest of your life doing. Let's see what we can do. What can we change? What can we try? Not just from a physical standpoint, but also like a mental and emotional standpoint too.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Okay, so what happened to your elbow then?
Yeah.
In the end, what did you do?
In the end, like looking back at it now, just like as a PT now, it probably was just like a muscle strain and just needed some time to heal and just to like rehab. And
you've told me the story, so
yeah,
tell them the story of did the physical therapist help you get back, or was it you? What did you do?
I mean, like the PT kind of just gave me like generic like tricep exercise or like a different like arm exercises for me to do. And so, that wasn't really quite helpful for me. Like I didn't really see like much improvement from doing it.
Okay.
So how did I do it myself? So, part of it is, so part of like even like treating like any sort of like tendons, ligaments, any sort of injuries right now, one of the biggest things is just like load management. So it's getting to a point where you can do a movement, try to find a way to do it pain-free, slowly get used to doing that, and then slowly try to either increase it a little bit, right? Either increase the range of motion you use, you increase the weight. Usually you increase the range of motion first, right? And then obviously like in the pain-free zone, right? And by doing so, that trains the tissues, the different muscles, ligaments, fascia, etc., in order to be able to accommodate that range of motion or that load or that weight. And so that's pretty much what I did. It was more so like a load management standpoint, as well as doing different accessory exercises and work to strengthening everything around the area as possible, right? Because typically whenever there's like any sort of like pain or injury, the muscles are the ones that add that sort of support to the body. They're the ones that take away the load from either the joints or from the cartilage or whatnot, And so that's the biggest thing.
That's a huge thing. And I think that's a great topic for another discussion.
Absolutely,
on like why that having those muscles is really important as we to maintain that range of motion, which means maintaining that mobility that you're talking about. So
absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, so
cool.
Maybe we give them a taste of what's in store.
Sure.
What we think will, and we're just
going on the fly.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
I mean, it's our first time, and it's
love it.
like, we're just learning as we go. But that's like we talked about today. One step at a time, right? You don't need to think about 5, 10, 30 podcasts from now. Let's just get the one in, see how we feel, and then like move from there, right? So I think some ideas that I have regarding future topics of discussion would be like going a bit more about the psychology behind things. I think your story is very interesting. I think that a lot of people resonate with that. There's so many people with like busy, like the stressors from work, finances, or family or job or whatever, health and such, that like they could definitely, I think they could definitely benefit from learning more about your story or your mindset or your mentality that you utilize in order to like get you out of that spot.
Yeah.
I think that that's definitely something that we could talk about in the future.
Thank you. I agree. And I think a huge topic is like how we do actually within our own body, from your story, have the, I don't want to say tools, but like our body within itself has the ability to heal.
Yeah.
And so knowing how to utilize that and how to restore basically ourselves to
Right.
greater range of motion that people are looking for. Becoming, building muscle when we're 120 pounds wet, like whatever our goals are in our fitness. Like you said, it takes that mentality, yes, but it also takes like a systematic approach to knowing how to do that, and why perhaps adding proactive things like a physical therapist to their health regimen is absolutely crucial to building up their